Very well. We'll go ahead and call the meeting to order here. Thank you to everybody for being here today for a committee that I've received several inquiries where people said, what is this committee exactly? And to include people that have been down here for decades. And I said, if you ever want one that will be the sure cure for insomnia, read the committee documents. But neither here nor there, it is very important that we get everybody coming in the same paths here. At this time, I think it's important. We'll go ahead and call the roll.
Senator Mace Bledsoe. Senator Nunn. Here. Senator Rawlings. Senator Webb. Representative McPherson.
Here.
Representative Truitt.
Here.
Co-Chair Petrie.
Here.
Chair McDaniel.
Here. Very well. As I said briefly, this is the first meeting of the Budget Instructions Committee. KRS Chapter 48 requires the General Assembly to promulgate uniform budget instructions for the development of the 2026 to the 2028 budget of the Commonwealth. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Kevin and Janice for the presentation.
Thank you for having us today. My name is Janice Thomas, Deputy State Budget Director.
And my name is Kevin Cardwell, Deputy State Budget Director.
Please proceed.
Thank you. We're here today. We only have 3 small recommended changes before you today, and our focus will be on the additional budget request form, particularly the narrative piece. So there's a narrative form B4 that we want to focus on. So some of our suggested changes is basically we would like to restructure that form but not change the information that we've previously asked for. So we're still going to ask for the information, and instead of a program narrative, when we ask for a description, we suggest that when they're asking for additional money that they identify the issue, and what is the issue and what's the fix, what's the solution, and give a description, but also to include quantitative data as well. It's just a rearrangement of that information inside that form. So in that form, they're still going to ask, you're still going to have all the expenditures by class, which means personnel, operating grants, and so forth, what they need, as well as the quantitative data. I'm just we have notes here, but I'm trying to distill it and shorten it for you just to get to the main points. So essentially, did you want to add anything to that narrative? Okay. The second...
You want a qualitative component to the quantitative.
Yes. Yes. We want to narrow it down because what we've seen in past with the budget instructions, when you just say a program description for your additional, it's essentially repeating with the what's in the baseline budget. We already know what's in the baseline budget. We want to know why the need for the additional money. And so we've tried to rearrange the instructions to get that information from the cabinet agencies. And I think it'll be helpful with these recommended changes that we've suggested and that we have on the form. And we've rearranged, there's sections 1, 2, and 3, and we've kind of rearranged those orders and what's in that as I've described.
Basically, we just want them to get to it quick.
Right. In the first couple of sentences, let us know what the problem is and what's the solution. The second recommended change is on the Record P. The Record P is a report that has the priority ranking of the ABRs, additional budget requests. You'll hear me say ABR, additional budget requests. And essentially, we've added and requested for cabinet agencies to put a page number for each ABR. So let's say you have 10 ABRs. We want to know that the first ABR is on page 20, the second one's on page 30, and it's just an easier reference and jump to so you can hop right to, what are the additional needs. And then the last recommended change that we had was a change to the budget calendar. As you all remember, House Bill 360 of the 2023 regular session, there was a change to the reporting of the consensus forecasting group. So the Office of State Budget Director will present to LRC the consensus forecast for the general fund and row fund. That date is December 20th. So we made that change to the budget calendar. And that basically sums it up of the 3 recommended changes that we've made in this, in the budget instructions for the 26-28 budget.
All right, very well. Senator Nunn, did you have a question? I've got 2. At this point, do we know what normal rate we're going to have the agencies plugging in for the KERS contributions?
We do, and I'll let Kevin answer that.
Well, we just recently set the rate for fiscal '26 for the KERS non-hazardous at 42.76%. At this time, we do not have a recommended amount for fiscal '27 and fiscal '28. It would be something that we would have to look at as we get closer to the submission of the budget.
And at 42.76, remind me, where are we for fiscal 25?
Oh, I didn't bring 25. 40, I'm thinking we were at 48 something, but don't quote me on that, Senator. I can get that information for you.
If you wouldn't mind,
Yeah,
please.
sorry, I did not come prepared with that today.
That's okay. Well, I didn't tell you in advance what I was going to ask out of that 300 and some page document we produced, right? Okay, next, do we know what our debt service template rate will be yet?
We will get that to you, and we usually post that on our website as well.
Right.
So I don't have that with me today.
Okay, and lastly, what, if any, changes are we anticipating? I know I'm a little ahead on this, and if the answer is it's yet to be determined, that's fine. But where are we on the employee health rates and what we're plugging in for that?
So we are in communications with the Personnel Cabinet at this moment. We've been looking at some very preliminary information with them. So that's something that we've just now got a good start on. So I don't have any estimate on what kind of changes we may be looking at as far as an employer contribution or an employee if there is a change to that.
Very good. Okay. That's everything that I had. Chair Petrie, you got anything at all?
If I may, real quick.
Yeah.
I know there's some language about a reduction or a termination of a program at the request of an agency. Don't know that that's ever occurred, but if something becomes historically non-relevant and an agency wants to terminate a program or significantly reduce it, is there a form by which they would do that, or how would that get related from the agency upward? Look, not a trick question, don't know. I'm just asking. Like, if something becomes historically, that's not relevant anymore, we need to cut that out. How does that happen?
Typically, what the cabinet and agencies request is what is required in statute and what is required at the federal level. So that's what the agencies base their requests on.
So if a program has been around for a while and statute changes and it gets cut, does that money just stay in the base, or is there a process by which
Let
they
me
adjust?
add to that. That was just a general statement, and I don't think I got to your point, what you were trying to get to. So basically, everything that cabinet agencies do is required by statute or federal law. And then through the Appropriations Act, the budget bill, we have a mechanism, for a budget reduction. Mm-hmm. So that's a tool that we use in order to make cuts. But if you're looking at the big scheme of the budget instructions is a uniform instruction across state government to get information for decision makers to use. And when I say decision makers, I mean the governor and the General Assembly. So when it comes to us as a governor's recommended budget, take the data and make decisions based on that information. The agencies aren't making the cuts. We're leaving that to the decision makers. So basically, that's what the instructions do. We try to get the information, and then we allow for the governor and for you as the General Assembly to make those decisions on what to put in and what to take out.
Yeah, fair enough. Thank you. Nothing else.
Very good. One more thing. Obviously, the U.S. House passed their version of whatever you want to call it this morning. It'll go to the Senate. Assuming something passes, it's almost inevitable that what is advancing will have some degree of impact at the state level. It might be fairly minuscule, depending on what the Senate does. But I mean, if that occurs in the next 6 weeks, is that outside of the time frame to be incorporated into?
It's
documents?
very early in the process for us to be able to either change the forms or to ask the cabinet agencies to make changes based on what the current situation is going at the U.S. level. Chairman, you've asked and you've got your finger on the pulse, and you know what's going on at the federal level. And I think one thing that's clear that we know at the federal level that passed through the House is that the push in the SNAP program for the states to start picking up some of that cost, and that could be a large number. But we're still reviewing the changes. It's still in the process. I think it's still too early to have those in the budget request, but that's certainly something that we're reviewing and we're staying on top of.
And maybe that might just be a good, topic for the A&R meeting sometime in the future, that once this passes, okay, you guys digest it, parse it out, and then let us know what you think, knowing that it might not have gone out in these instructions.
Did you have anything relative?
relative?
No, I think it's just something we're definitely monitoring and going to have to monitor. Like you said, it just passed early this morning, and we'll see what the Senate does with it. But, things that are known, would the federal funding levels that are included in an agency's budget request are supposed to be based on the most recent data available. So we're just going to have to keep a close eye on this one.
Very well. All right, seeing no others at this time, I'll entertain a motion. Oh, I'm sorry, Senator Nunn.
Yeah, thank you. And I said not yet earlier because I recognize I have a ton of blind spots here as a freshman legislator. But when I look at Form B4, there's more information that I would like to see when considering a request. And maybe what I'm asking is impossible here. But for example, I would like to see other options that were considered before landing on whatever's being requested on this form. And maybe not just considered, but how those were evaluated, and maybe we even prescribe some evaluation criteria on the form. Time to implement, cost to implement, positive, negative outcomes or effects, something like that, the way we can understand why that solution was selected and how it compares to the others. Is that reasonable? Is that doable? So I'm asking here.
Thank you for the question. I think what you would see in some of the responses that an agency would put out as far as a descriptive of the particular item would include the implications. Does this not go through, or they'll be included in that. As far as what other options were considered, I'm not the way the instructions are written today. I don't know that would be part of the response that you would see. But I think you would see the what if. I think you would get that.
Follow up. Yeah. That I'm sure that's true. That makes sense. And so I guess I'm asking my colleagues: would we want to see other options that were considered? Do you all feel like that would be productive to see and understand?
I certainly think it would give, as we progress through this process, we will probably ask those questions of our staff. And it certainly wouldn't hurt to have some type of a narrative related to that. But Kevin makes a pretty valid point as well. But the motion is actually that we continue to work with them on the development of these instructions. And I think that that's probably something that we could have as part of an ongoing conversation as to what that would look like exactly. Yeah. Okay. Anything else? All right. At this time, I would entertain a motion directing the co-chairs to work with the Legislative Research Commission staff to finalize the 2026 to 2028 budget instructions and formally present them to the Legislative Research Commission for adoption. At this time, do I have a motion? Senator Nunn, do I have a second? Representative? All right. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Senator Mays Bledsoe, Senator Nunn, Senator Rawlings, Senator Webb, Representative McPherson,
Yes.
Representative Truitt,
Yes.
Co-Chair Petrie,
Yes.
Chair McDaniel.
Aye. Very well. they are adopted. And then, guys, obviously, as we go through the summer and the fall, we're going to have additional things that we come back to you with. And we just ask, as always, that you are timely with the replies and, work with us to make sure that all the reporting deadlines are met and we can get this task moving.
Yes, thank you.
All right. Thank you guys very
Thank you
much.
for the considerations. Thank you.
Appreciate you. Seeing no other business come before the committee, we'll stand adjourned.